The Hawthorne Villa lay nestled deep in the ancient pine forest of Connecticut, exactly 2 hours' drive from Manhattan, far enough that one could forget the world was still spinning madly out there. November crimson maple leaves carpeted the stone path, and every afternoon Maria Morales swept them into neat little piles, as if sweeping away her own nameless sorrows. Tonight was very late. The wall clock in the study struck 11 slow chimes. Maria was still there, dustcloth in hand, gently wiping the old family portrait, Alexander Hawthorne, with his arms around his late first wife, and in his hands a chubby newborn Oliver, her little master. She hadn't meant to eavesdrop. It was only that the master bedroom door stood ajar, golden light spilling into the hallway, like an unintended invitation. Victoria's voice, sweet as honey by day, was now sharp and hushed. "This Friday, gas. The whole system will blow at once. Yes, both the old man and the kid. Then everything will be mine. 80 million, not a cent less." Maria froze outside the door. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might shatter her ribs. She took one step back. Her heel struck the antique Victorian porcelain vase on the console table. The crash rang through the silent night like a gunshot. The door flew open. Victoria appeared in a white silk nightgown, blonde hair, loose blue eyes wide with feigned surprise. "Maria." "God, you scared me. I'm sorry, ma'am. I was just finishing the cleaning." Maria's voice trembled. She fought to steady it. Victoria bent to gather the shards, crimson-painted nails gliding over the razor-sharp porcelain. She smiled, but the smile never reached her eyes. "It's all right. Accidents happen." She straightened, looking straight into Maria's eyes. "By the way, you didn't hear anything, did you?" Maria swallowed hard. She shook her head slowly. "No, ma'am. I only heard the vase break." Victoria nodded, stood, smoothed her hair. "Good. Go to bed, Maria. It's late." She turned back into the room and closed the door softly. The lock clicked like a verdict. Maria stood there a long time, still clutching the dust cloth. She thought of Ollie, the 11-year-old boy, sleeping at the end of the hall, his skinny legs sticking out from under the blanket lips, still pouting from last night's nightmare. He'd had nightmares ever since his mother died, and only she, the maid, was the one he allowed to hold him when he cried. She walked slowly to his room and eased the door open. Ollie lay curled up, arms wrapped tight around the old teddy bear his mother had sewn before she passed. The moon-shaped nightlight bathed his face, highlighting the long lashes wet with tears. Maria sat on the edge of the bed and gently stroked his hair. "Oh, my son," she whispered in Spanish, as she had 1,000 nights before. "I won't let anyone hurt you. I swear it." In the darkness, the little red thread bracelet Ollie had woven for her last year glimmered faintly on Maria's wrist, the thread of love, of promises that needed no papers, no shared blood. She didn't know what to do. She only knew that if she stayed silent this Friday, the boy would die, and she would never forgive herself. Maria couldn't remember exactly when she had first been called Mom. Perhaps when Ollie was 3. One drizzly afternoon, he ran barefoot through the hallway, sobbing, because Dad had canceled yet another flight home from Tokyo. Alexander Hawthorne was then at the height of his power. Video calls lasted 3 minutes, just long enough to ask about grades before hanging up. Maria scooped Ollie into her arms, wiped his tears with the corner of her apron, and softly sang the Cielito Lindo her own mother used to sing back in Guadalajara. "Don't cry, mi cielo. Mama Maria is here." The boy stopped crying, looked up, his mother's sea-blue eyes now turning the warm brown of Maria in his mind. Mama, he asked in a tiny voice. Maria meant to correct him. She was only the maid. But seeing his eyes, she couldn't bear to. She nodded. Yes, Mama Maria is here. From that day on, the name clung to her like a sweet, guilty secret. Now Ollie was 11, a little taller than she was, yet whenever the nightmares came, he still sought her out, exactly as before. The only difference was that these days his bedroom door was usually locked from the outside. Victoria had entered the Hawthorne family's life exactly 17 months ago. Before that, she had been a lingerie model in Los Angeles twice on the cover of Vogue, then suddenly became Mrs. Alexander Hawthorne in a private ceremony in Santorini. The press called it a fairy tale. Maria called it a storm. Victoria never hit Ollie, she was far too clever for that. She simply made him invisible. Dinners were for the two adults only. Ollie's birthday was postponed until Dad gets back. He was sent to boarding school on weekends, even though he cried at the very thought of it. And whenever he dared protest, Victoria would smile and stroke his hair with ice-cold fingers. You don't want to make Daddy sad, do you? Tonight was the same. At 8 o'clock, Maria knocked on Ollie's door carrying a tray of cold food the chef had forgotten. Ollie, eat something. The door opened a crack. The boy peered out, eyes red. She locked me in at 5, he whispered. She said I was too noisy. Maria set the tray down and pulled him into a fierce hug. He had grown so thin, his shoulder blades stuck out beneath the old t-shirt. Are you hungry? Ollie nodded. He ate ravenously, telling her between bites how the kids at school teased him today for having a wicked stepmother straight out of Disney. Maria's heart twisted with every word. When he finished, she pulled a small chocolate bar from her pocket, one she had hidden since last week. For you, but don't let her know. Ollie smiled the rare smile of these days. Then he pulled a folded paper from under his pillow. I drew this for Mama Maria. Maria opened it. A tiny island in a blue sea, 2 people holding hands beneath a palm tree. One wore a white apron, black hair in a bun. The other had messy brown hair and came only to her shoulder. Beneath in a child's scrawl, Mama Maria and Ollie, where there are no bad people. Maria burst into tears. She tried to hide them, but they fell onto the paper, blurring the green crayon sea. I want to stay here forever with Mama, Ollie said, voice trembling. I hate her. I'm scared of her. Maria held him so tightly, it felt as if she were holding her entire crumbling world. Listen to me, she whispered in Spanish. No matter what happens, I will never let anyone hurt you. I swear it by Our Lady of Guadalupe, by my own mother, by this entire life of mine. Ollie nodded, trusting her completely. He did not know that in 3 days that promise would be tested by fire. And Maria that night for the first time prayed for something she had never dared dream of. Please let me be this boy's mother for real, and if only once by saving his life. 3 days until Friday. Maria didn't sleep. She sat in the tiny basement room reserved for the help, staring at the ancient flip phone that could only call and text. She had tried Alexander in Singapore 3 times. All 3 went straight to voicemail. His cold voice, I'm in a meeting. Leave a message after the beep. She didn't dare leave a message. Victoria checked her husband's phone every night. Maria opened the drawer and took out the thin savings book, $18,472. Every dollar she had scraped together over 12 years so that one day she could bring her mother up from Guerrero for kidney treatment. She stared at the number for a long time, then closed the book. Money couldn't save Ollie. She started searching. Wednesday, while Victoria was at the spa all day, Maria slipped into her mistress's study. She was no professional thief. Her hands shook so badly, she dropped a Mont Blanc fountain pen. But she found it anyway. In the drawer, locked with a code, the wedding date. 0814, too arrogant to hide, lay a folder. A life insurance policy taken out last month. $80 million. Sole beneficiary, Victoria Hawthorne. Special clause, in the event both insured parties, Alexander and Oliver Hawthorne, perish in the same accident, the full amount is payable immediately, no probate required. Underneath was a wire transfer receipt, $47,000 to Gas Control Limited. Remote ignition system. Company address, a P.O. box in Cyprus. Maria photographed everything with the old phone. Her hands were ice. She went down to the kitchen, cracked the main gas valve just a hair, and sniffed. The familiar rotten egg stench. She remembered the old house in Mexico that exploded when she was 14. Her mother had thrown her out the window before the ceiling collapsed. Her mother lived another 8 years with half her body burned. History was about to repeat itself, only this time the victim would be her son. Wednesday night, Maria did something she had never done. She called the local police from a payphone at the gas station 3 miles away. "Hello, I have information about a murder plot." The officer yawned. "Do you have concrete evidence, ma'am?" "Yes, I photographed the insurance contract and fine. Go home. We'll send someone to take your statement. Your name, Maria Morales. Do you have valid ID?" Silence. Her work visa had expired last year. Alexander kept promising to renew it, but never did. The officer sighed. "Listen, Ms. Morales, if this is a prank, you'll be in serious trouble. And if you're here illegally, you understand." She hung up. When she got back, Victoria was sitting in the living room, legs crossed, sipping a martini. "Out late, Maria. I went to buy medicine for Ollie. He has a headache." Victoria smiled, set the glass down slowly. "I just spoke with the family lawyer. Your visa's expired. 1 word from me and you're deported tomorrow." Maria stood frozen, fists clenched in her apron pockets. Victoria rose, walked close, and whispered so only the two of them could hear. "You're clever, Maria. I know you overheard that phone call. I know you went through my drawers today. But you can't do anything. No one believes the maid, especially an undocumented one. And if you open your mouth—" Victoria tilted her head, voice syrupy. "Accidents happen so easily to old women in Guerrero. Don't you agree?" Maria felt the blood drain from her face. That night she knelt before the tiny picture of Our Lady of Guadalupe tacked above her bed. She wept the first time in years. "Give me strength, Mother. I have no papers, no money, no one who will believe me. I only have these 2 hands and this heart. If I must, I will trade my whole life to save that boy." She stood, wiped her eyes. She would not call the police again. She would not wait for Alexander. She would get Ollie out of this house herself, no matter the cost. What she didn't know is that Victoria had moved the plan forward. The explosion would not happen on Friday. It would happen tonight, Thursday, while Alexander was still half a world away and no one suspected a thing. 6 hours left. 23:17. Thursday. The villa was dark. Victoria had left at 8, telling everyone she was attending a charity gala in Manhattan and would stay at the hotel. The staff had been given an early weekend off. Only Maria and Ollie remained in the 1,000-square-meter house. Maria couldn't sleep. She lay listening. Something was wrong. The air smelled more strongly of gas than it should, even though she had checked the kitchen that afternoon. 23:29. She bolted upright and ran barefoot upstairs. Ollie's door was locked from the outside. The spare key was no longer in its usual place. "Ollie." She pounded on the door. "Ollie, open up for Mom." Inside, only faint, weak coughing. Maria raced to the basement, grabbed a crowbar, and smashed the lock. The door flew open. Ollie lay curled on the bed, face ashen, lips purple. "Mama, I feel dizzy." Gas. It had been leaking for hours. Maria scooped him up. He was terrifyingly light. She ran toward the main staircase, but the moment she reached the hallway, she heard a small click from the central thermostat room. A dry, lethal snap, like the switch of death being thrown. The front door was electronically locked. The back door, too. Every ground floor window had security bars that could only be opened from the central control panel, the panel Victoria had disabled before leaving. The gas smell was now so thick, Maria's vision blurred. She had one chance left. The laundry room at the end of the basement hallway contained an old industrial metal chemical cabinet, big enough for two with walls 5 centimeters thick. Alexander used to brag it was their mini safe. Maria sprinted there, clutching Ollie tightly, wrenched open the heavy door with all her strength, shoved the boy inside, climbed in after him, and slammed it shut, throwing the interior bolt. Outside, the clock struck 23:33. Ollie coughed violently. "Mama, I'm scared." Maria pressed him to her chest, covering his nose and mouth, with the sleeve of her sweater already soaked with tears and sweat. "Listen to me," she whispered in Spanish. Voice shaking, but steady. "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Just breathe slow and soft. I'm going to sing to you." The boy nodded, eyes squeezed shut. Maria began to sing so quietly, only they could hear, yet strong as a prayer. Ay. Canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran cielito lindo los corazones. Outside, the gas hissed like a snake. Then silence. 1 second, 2 seconds. 23. 34. The house exploded. First came the roar like the world being torn apart. The shock wave rattled the concrete foundation. Heat surged. The cabinet door turned glowing hot, a furnace. Maria felt 1,000 needles prick her skin, then searing fire. She curled over Ollie, shielding him completely with her back, pressing him into her chest. Her hair caught fire. Her skin split open. But she kept singing, throat full of smoke. De tu casa, de tu ventana. Cielito lindo hasta el cielo. Ollie screamed, but the scream was swallowed by the roar of flames. Maria held him tighter, using the last of her strength to whisper into his ear. "You are my son. You will always be my son. Don't be afraid. Mama is here." Then she lost consciousness, still clutching the boy in arms already charred black. Outside, the night sky blazed red. Hawthorne Villa, symbol of wealth and power, was now nothing but a towering inferno among the pines. But inside that fire, one tiny metal cabinet, scorching, glowing, remained intact. And inside it, 2 hearts, mother and child, still beat. The fire truck siren screamed at 23:49. The flames had already devoured almost the entire villa. Only the steel skeleton remained, shrieking its final agonies. Fire crews from 3 neighboring towns converged. None of them had ever seen a blaze ignite so fast and burn so viciously. Captain Ryan, a tall, broad-shouldered man, spotted the anomaly in the wreckage of the basement. A single metal object still held its shape. An old industrial cabinet, blackened and smoking furiously. It took hydraulic jaws to pry the door open. Inside, Maria lay collapsed, her body charred almost beyond recognition, hair burned away, skin peeling in huge sheets. Yet her arms were still locked around Ollie like living steel. The boy was unconscious, but breathing shallow, steady breaths, shielded completely by the woman who had made her own body his final barrier. "My God," Ryan whispered, voice breaking. They carried both out. Paramedics put oxygen on Ollie first. He coughed, opened his eyes, and sobbed, "Mama!" Where's Mama? Maria was lifted onto the stretcher last. The doctor shook his head, third-degree burns over nearly 90% of her body respirations, stopping several times en route. Survival odds under 5%. But Maria clung to life for exactly 41 more hours. Alexander Hawthorne landed his private jet at Westchester's small airport at 4 a.m. He ran into the hospital in a crumpled suit, eyes red from crying the entire 10-hour flight. He fell to his knees beside Maria's bed. The ICU smelled of antiseptic and scorched flesh. The ventilator hissed rhythmically. Maria was wrapped almost entirely in bandages. Only her eyes showed clouded with pain. Alexander took the one hand that wasn't fully swathed. Maria, I'm sorry. I wasn't there. His voice shattered. Maria tried to smile. Cracked lips moved. Ollie, is he okay? My son is alive. Because of you. Alexander bowed his head. Tears fell onto the white sheet. You are his mother. From now on, forever. Maria gave the faintest nod. She looked past him to the glass door where Ollie stood in an oversized hospital gown, eyes swollen. He pressed his palm to the window. Maria closed her eyes. A single tear slid from the corner of her burned eyelid. My sweet boy, I kept my promise. The heart monitor let out one long tone. The doctor shook his head. Alexander collapsed forward, cradling Maria's cooling hand. 6 months later, a small wooden house beside a lake in Vermont. No marble columns, no infinity pool, just a vegetable garden and morning birdsong. Ollie pushed Maria's wheelchair onto the porch. She would always need the chair. Her legs would never walk again. Her face was a map of scars, but her eyes still shone. He laid a new drawing on her lap, the same little island, but now with a tiny house and a dog. I drew it for Mom, Ollie said, using the word aloud in front of others for the first time. Maria stroked his hair and softly sang the last lines of Cielito Lindo. Alexander stood in the doorway watching quietly. He was no longer a billionaire. Victoria had been sentenced to life without parole. Almost everything had been seized for restitution. But he smiled a real smile, the first in years. On Maria's wrist, the little red thread bracelet Ollie had woven years ago remained one corner singed black. In the early Vermont sunlight, it glimmered a simple, fierce reminder. Real love doesn't need shared blood. It only needs someone willing to stand in the fire for you. And Maria had done exactly that, to her very last breath.